Okay, and we should be recording. So welcome everyone. We are here to do a kind of a walkthrough on how to use Facebook Live. Amy is very experienced in doing so because, yeah, she's going to make a face. She was just doing it this morning. Um, so, and I think the fact that I pinned your camera to the screen just pinned your camera and not your presentation. So
Oh, okay.
let's figure that out. See, you learn all sorts of things. Let me try that. There we go. Now it's just your presentation, even
We're
though we
all
all want to see your
learning.
lovely face. Yes, so Amy was yeah, in fact, has come just fresh from doing a Facebook live stream at 10 o'clock this morning. Again, if you've just arrived, there are chat options over on the right. If you have questions, feel free to type them in there. Amy cannot read them right now. She only has one screen, so I'll either share them with her at the end, or if it seems particularly urgent, I'll break in. We may, if we continue at about this number at the end of the webinar, unmute mics if you guys just want to ask questions out loud. But with that said, I am going to turn this over to Amy.
Okay, everybody. So I put this together pretty quickly last night. Like everything seems to be happening pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like me learning how to do this happened very quickly. So I don't know that I would say expert. I would say good at getting going quickly and doing it well enough. So it's going to be fine. But I think I'm also in a good place to teach you as beginners. And if you're feeling a little nervous because I've just learned myself pretty much. So here are things I've learned during this pandemic. There's lots of ways to video conference. This is the first time I'm doing Google Meetup, so that's nice. If you let your teenagers sleep in, they're easier to homeschool later, and also that keeps them quiet during most of your morning meetings. I made ciabatta bread finally successfully. I always thought I would clean my house if I just had time. That is in fact false. And so and now I know how to present storytime on Facebook Live. So that's the thing I'll teach you today. So I guess the first thing is that so we had some discussion at the library when we were talking about doing this about how we felt about it, and some people were really nervous about the idea of using Facebook Live, and I had some like technical inhibitions, but I feel like all of my programs are live, right? Except that they're also in person. And that I could probably do this. And then the real thing is I can't see when the kids are actively not listening to me, which I know everybody has in their story time, the moment when the toddlers are like, I'm done with you, no matter how amazing you might be being at that moment. And they're at the back of the room playing with the sensory toys or whatever. But you don't see that on Facebook Live. You just get to think that all those little numbers and comments are just people who are so actively engaged. So that's nice, but you can do it. You do live programs all the time. There's just some small technical hoops to get through. So the first thing you have to do is assess the device you have to do this. So you can do it from a laptop or a desktop computer, although I found it's really tricky to get to it. And I hadn't even tried that. And I had to go through and look last night, and it took several YouTube videos to help me do it. So here's what I have at my house: my work ThinkPad, my iPhone, and my iPad. And so I tried it on the iPhone and the iPad, and there are advantages and disadvantages for each of them. I found so on iPhones, there's a bug where I can't film them horizontally, which would be awfully nice for a book. But the sound and the video quality were much better than my iPad because I just have a pretty basic iPad. It's not one of the really fancy ones. I mostly play little games and do some basic stuff on there, but I don't use it as like a tool all the time. Plus, I'm really comfortable with my phone. I, like everybody else I know, spends a lot of time on the phone. So I know how to work the Facebook app really well on my phone. I know how to find stuff. And since Facebook literally just rolled out an update in the middle of last week, thanks Facebook, and changed where everything was. That was super fun. It was much easier to navigate that on my phone. So the thing I'm most comfortable using and that I had the best audio quality was my phone. So even though I have to do it vertically because I have an iPhone, that was the choice I made. But so depending upon what other options you have available to you, you might choose differently. And there are little differences. So all the screen captures I'm going to show you are from my iPhone and how I'm doing it. But It's a tiny bit different depending upon each device because the Facebook app interacts differently with various devices, things I'm learning during pandemic. So I think the first thing first is to figure out where you're going to do it. Some libraries are still letting people into the library to work within the library. KCPL is not doing that. So it's literally when we're doing live programming, it's at our homes. My supervisor has been doing some how-tos. She did one in her kitchen, which was gloriously clean when she did it. I was so impressed. Like I thought, oh my gosh, I would never let anyone in my kitchen right now. But you just have to tidy up where you are, which if you have your device in a fixed location, is really not a very big area. You're not going to have to show people your whole house. So pick an area that's got nice lighting, has fewer distraction. Natural light, if you can get it, is the best. There are some other options. I'll show you a light that I'm using at the end of this. And then also think about the sound. So rooms with carpet or soft furnishings will help dampen echoes and help stop that sort of far away sound that you sometimes hear in live videos. And then you also want to make sure you have a spot where you can reach all of your materials easily. So like I had first thought, oh, I'll do this a really cozy little chair next to my fireplace. And I thought that would be so cute. And I'd made it like cute. I'd put a plant there and I was like, oh, it's so cute. And it looked really nice. And then I realized I didn't have a good way to like grab my books, and I play the ukulele. So grab my ukulele and like maneuver all the stuff around. And it was super awkward in that chair. So I had to move to my couch because I had a big wide area and it could keep stuff right next to me where I could grab it easily without having to like leave the field of vision of the camera. I have seen some people have it like on a little shelf behind them. So I think it's depending upon what you have. Also, I found that my Storytime regulars, so it's interesting because I work at the Covington branch of the Kenton County Public Library. And so I have the people that I see at those. And then there are lots of people who are seeing my story time who I don't usually see every week. But the regulars are super pumped that they have seen part of my house. Like they have been messaging me and emailing me about that they want to see more of my house. No, they're just going to see this one little spot of it that I've tidied up. Thank you so much. But just think about in your house where it would want to be. And then when you're testing it, you will learn stuff. Like I learned the chair was not a good idea. So then this is also normal. You got to choose your content, only it's a little bit not normal. So you might be limited to the books that you can have on hand. I would definitely pick books that you're pretty comfortable reading, even though we do Storytime Live all the time. I'm getting a lot more comfortable, but in the beginning I was more nervous. So the more familiar the book, the better. And then the big layer that we have to do is we have to check copyright permissions. So most of the publishers have something on all of their social media, a statement, although a lot of them now are getting hard to find because they're buried a few weeks back. But SLJ has done a really excellent roundup. You can get to it on their website, and they update it constantly as new publishers release policies or as they make tweaks and changes to it. So the various publishers, some of them are definitely friendlier than others. Like Macmillan has basically been like, read whatever you want. You don't have to report it to them, and then just delete it by the end of the school year. Penguin and HarperCollins and Harcourt all want an email to a very specific email address. Penguin now replies to your email with a form for you to fill out. So, and then you're to assume that you're approved, but those publishers are learning as they go too. So what the publishers want from us is actually changing. So I find I sort of pick out my materials for the week. I'm doing 3 story times a week. And then I check on all the publishers and I make sure it's okay. Jim Gill has said, yes, read everything. Todd Parr, Mo Willems. Sometimes some publishers will allow the authors to do release, and some publishers are like, well, the author said that, but we own the copyright. So this is when being librarians and being familiar with copyright is important, and we've got to do it. And then also don't forget to choose songs and finger plays. And if you have any props you can use in your house, gather them up. But I really don't feel like this is the time to try new things. So I've been working on a couple new songs on my ukulele because I have some time for practice, but it's going to be a few weeks before I roll those out to Facebook Live, because a lot of times that I'll do stuff in the library, I force my coworkers to listen to it, and then I go out to a desk and I play the song there, and then I find random children in the library and I play the song for them, and I have all, and like I don't know that my dogs and cat want to hear that many renditions of, Miss Amy's new ukulele song. But so just when you choose your content, you have to find the intersection of books you have on hand, what you're comfortable reading, and that you can get copyright releases for. So like Candlewick is only allowing broadcasts on closed platforms, which Facebook Live is not a closed platform. So you have to make sure that the publisher is allowing them on public platforms. All right. So now it's time to practice. And the really good news, and when I found this out, I was so relieved, is that you can go live without everyone seeing it, without anyone but you seeing it. Totally possible to practice in that way. I'm not sure what the practical implication of that is in everyday life, but in my life, it means you get to practice. That's really nice. So you're going to see my face in a lot of slides because this is what it looks like when I'm setting one up. So to make a live post, here we go. So remember, not everyone's going to see it right away. So I've got two setups that you're seeing. One, this is my personal Facebook screen. That's my profile with Andy Bashir and the best alpaca in the world, Daffodil. And then this is the Kenton County Library Facebook page. So I'm an administrator on our Facebook page, and I was before all of this too. You will need to be an administrator on someone who's able to make posts on your library's Facebook page. So if that's something your library wants you to do, they're going to need to add you as an administrator. They could add you, you could do the program, and they could take you off, but you're going to have to be added. But at any rate, to practice, you have to use your personal Facebook page because you can't change the audience away from public on a business page. So here you go. So you can see, here it is. When you hit live, this is the screen that comes up. So there's a lot of things going on the screen. You can see where you can flip your camera either away from you or to you at the top. You can turn the flash on or off. I turn it off. You can see who you're posting to. If you were going to actually do this on your things to your friends, it's telling you, oh, there's 107 people online when I was doing this last night. There are options at the bottom. You can add a fundraising link or bring a friend or all sorts of stuff. And then you can see where you tap to add the description. But if you go on that to and that post, there's a little down arrow. You click it, you get what's here on the right, and you can choose the audience. So public, friends is usually the default. And then if you have made friends lists, like close friends, acquaintances, you can do that. And then specific friends is nice. Like you could actually do this, like if you wanted to practice with a child that you knew, you could ask that person to help you. But when I changed this to Google Slides, I had a little shift, but that only me, that's the one you want. So this way you can make a video and then only you will see it. No one else will. So it's a great way to practice and work out some kinks. So before you get started, there are tools to use. So at the bottom, you can see the little tools on the far, I guess that's the far right, those that looks like a screwdriver and a wrench. When you click those tools, the little things that are circled in the middle come up. And you can see when I hold up a book in the default view, when the camera is flipped towards yourself, which you want to do, you want to be able to see your screen while you're broadcasting. That's important. But it inverts the type on the book. So then you just need to flip your screen. So see that one that flips it horizontally, or if you for some reason wanted to be upside down, you could flip it vertically. Okay. But once you do that, it shows it to you in a sort of a weird inverted thing. So, but now the type looks correct to your audience. It is a little disconcerting because if you move your hand on the right side of your body, it doesn't mirror you. It moves on the opposing side of the screen. So that takes some practice to get used to, but I think it's really important for the type to be readable in terms of learning outcomes for story time. So, and then on the far right, that little sun, that can brighten up your screen. So just because I was out of room, I put that on the next slide. And it's okay to play with all these tools. Oh, and these things on the bottom are filters and backgrounds, and they would make it look really crazy. But it is fun to play around. Remember, no one's going to see this but you, and you can do it as many times as you want. You can practice, and you can find out what everything does with no embarrassing consequences. So it's very nice. You can also find out what angle, like clearly looking down at the camera, not the best. You want to try to look up a little bit at the camera. It's much more flattering. But so you can see I lightened it up, and all of a sudden it looks so much nicer. I just think a little brighter. And then, so I always do that first. I fix those things first, and then I add the title. So in the copyright commission permission, some of the publishers will ask for specific tags, and it might not be their main page. Like Simon & Schuster wants their education page tag. So I always, like in my outline for story time that day, which are relatively detailed, I will put all the reminders of what I need to do, like flip screen, brighten, add description, and then I will have typed out the description so that I can paste it into here, and I include the tags. Sometimes the tags are a little finicky and you got to work with them, but it's okay. And then you can add place. You can do all the little things you would normally do on a post. And then that's all you have to do. And then that big blue button, that's how you're going to start. So you hit start live video, and it doesn't have a countdown, but it says starting. It doesn't start right away. And then there's a little red dot that appears in the top corner, and that's how you know that it is coming. So if you've ever watched a live video, what you'll know is you get that notification that comes up on Facebook, and then that's what people click to get into it. So when it starts, you need to give people some time to come in. So I sort of strum around on my ukulele, I smile, and then I start saying good morning, and I welcome people. I've been having a lot of the same parents who come every time, and I've started to know all their children's names with the parents' names, which has been helpful. And I can, say hello to them as they come, and maybe I'll ask them something to think about. I've seen some other people doing story time where they have, like, if they do the mystery box with something inside of it. Oh, my dog is trying to get in my lap. We'll see if that happens or not. I have 2 dachshunds, so we'll see. Working from home. By the way, I have to get the dachshunds out of the house. So shout out to my family. My daughter and my husband have been taking the dogs on walks, and they hate walks. So it's been ridiculous, but they will not leave me alone, and they really hate my ukulele. Like, they just hate it. But have something to do while you're waiting for people to get there, and you can see a count of how many people are there, like how many accounts are watching at the top of the screen. And once you've got enough there to feel like you can start, you can go ahead and start. So people will type comments and answer questions or say hello, which is great. I especially love when the parents put in their kids' names, but it's almost a whole minute lag between when people type and then when you see it on your live stream screen. So you kind of have to learn to adjust to that, but that's okay. So it is nice when you're practicing, do a few where no one can see, only you, but then you could also do it to specific friends, and you could practice with that lag. Or if you're comfortable with doing it to all of your friends list, I have like 800 Facebook friends, though. And some of them I'm like, no, you don't need to see that. It's okay. And then also, just remember that it's okay to make mistakes when you're actually doing a program. In real story time, you make mistakes all the time. I know I don't always read the books perfectly. I have to go back, or I can't seem to get a word out sometimes. And I'm trying to remember that story time is literally my favorite part of our job is getting to do story time. I love it so much. And I was so relieved when I started doing things on Facebook Live, because I had just felt a little bereft without story time. Like, what do I do with myself? I need story time, apparently. Okay, I am going to pick up this dog. Come on. It's Kathy. There's another one. You say, hi, Kathy. Hi. Okay. We'll see. Chelsea managed to get my headphones off the other day, so hopefully that won't happen. All right. So then towards the end of the video, you're going to wrap it up. And then there's a button on the end that says end now. And then after you've hit that end now button, you can see you could double check, right, that only you can see the video, which is really nice. Um, and then there's some options at the bottom. So you can post it to the timeline, upload it in HD. It's a higher quality. It takes a little longer to upload, but I think you get better sound and better video quality. I tried both ways because remember, if you're uploading it to your own timeline, only you can see it even when it's a post. So you could try one in HD and one in not and see the difference. And then if you click that little save button on the bottom left, that will save it to your photo library on your phone. And then you click share, or I guess if you really hated it, you click delete, but then you're done. That's it. You're done. And then try not to like obsessively go back to the post and watch how many people have viewed it. Also, you might be alarmed sometimes by the number of people who have viewed a video of you on the Facebook. So I've stopped looking because I find it upsetting. So it's too many. So some technical things, like I said earlier, you can't choose only me from a business Facebook page, and that is what library pages are. They are classified as business ones. When you really do it and you want everyone to see it, make sure you choose public. I have had a couple where I've been waiting on a live video, and then it turns out they didn't choose, they were accidentally doing it from their own profile, or they didn't choose public. So make sure you are on your library's page and that you choose public. And that you need to be an admin. So if your library wants you to do that, they're going to have to make you a Facebook administrator for at least a little while, and so that you can do it. So to have someone make you an admin on your library's Facebook page, you have to be Facebook friends with that admin, and then they can add an admin and they find you on the list. So it's pretty simple. All right, so then you could get some little extras. So this tripod that's right here, that is actually the one that I got. It's like $30 from Amazon. It has this little light on the top, and the light, you can change the color of the light. So it can be like a warm, flattering light, which is very nice. If you want to get really fancy, I have not gotten this fancy because I'm sort of a relative beginner to a lot of this. There's third-party software apps you can use to overlay graphics. You can make like graphics in Canva and then overlay them on your video with reminders or banners. And then if you're really having trouble figuring out something, YouTube. Man, YouTube has so many good tutorials for how to do this. And I found the makeup bloggers and the people who do makeup tutorials on Facebook Live, they really know their stuff. Like they do a lot of this and they do it all the time. So they're really good at it. And I learned weird things about makeup. I'm kind of a low maintenance girl. So it was weird. All right, so that's all the slides I have, and I'm happy to do some Q&A, and I'm going to stop sharing this screen and go back so I can see the chat.
Okay, and I think I've got you unpinned there. And so, folks, if you want to type questions in, Amy can see them now. So you can type them in if you want. With about 17 people, if you also just want to ask your question out loud, feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and do that as well. It's not so many people that I envision it turning into chaos. And while you guys are either unmuting yourselves or typing in your questions, I am just going to clarify. So Amy, when you are on camera and you did the image flip, if it's frontwards to your audience, it's backwards to you. Is that what you were saying?
You were seeing it, but what it is, so I don't know if it'll work if I hold up this. Like when I hold this book up, I don't know how does the type look to you?
It's forward to me.
Okay, it's forward to you. On Facebook, because I don't know why, like when you're on my camera, it looks reversed. Like that was a big thing when I did. So then you have to flip the screen. But then like if I'm reaching that way, it'll sort of go that way on the screen because the way, and it's just a little confusing to get used to.
Yeah, okay. Which is another good reason to practice, which I didn't even, I feel like that was my favorite thing because we talked yesterday. That was my favorite thing you said yesterday was I hadn't even thought about that was, just do a broadcast to only you. And that's perfect. Just a couple of other things that I thought were really either just, good points from my experience or just what you said. You talked about typing out the things ahead of time. And that, in my experience with doing our webinars with SWON and stuff, is actually, yes, always a good idea. You think you know what, even you think you could do it on the fly, and maybe you could, but it definitely just helps to have things
Yeah, and I
lined
would
up and ready to
say
go.
in terms of setting everything up,
Hmm.
I also I should have put this in the presentation, but I forgot. I will change the settings on my phone, so I mute all of the alerts that my phone would normally do, which
Oh,
is
good point. Yeah.
nice. And then I will also turn off the auto lock. So usually my phone auto locks after like a minute, and I don't want it to auto lock, so I turn it to never. And then and I'll just change it back at the end.
Hmm.
And but yeah, I'll type it up on my phone, like in my notes or something, and then I can
Hmm.
copy it and paste it in, and it makes it a lot easier. Because yeah, it is hard. I give myself now. I'll start at like 10 till. I'll start the post, and I'll make everything, and I'll get double check they have everything, and then I'll be sitting there watching my watch, waiting for 10 a.m. But the first time I did it, I think I started at like quarter till.
Yeah. And then I just also just thought it was a really good point too, to remember that you make mistakes in real life. Like, for some reason, they seem amplified on camera, and I mean, and certainly I'm recording right now, and I think that's part of it. like your mistakes feel very ephemeral. But keep in mind, legally, you're going to have to delete these, which is a question we had in our chat thing the other day, and I didn't know.
Yes.
Um,
Each
so
publisher has different things, but generally they're all saying end of the school year. Some of them are end of June, some of them are end of May. So you do have to keep track of which posts had which publishers and then go back and delete them on time.
mhm, mhm.
Although in preparing to do this, I have found tons and tons of read aloud videos on public YouTube that I don't think ever get deleted. So I'm like, I mean, how are we enforcing this? Although to be fair, I do tag them in these posts, so it'd be pretty easy for them to go back and find it.
Yeah, so I doubt, yeah, if you're gonna tag them. No, yeah, I have seen you have your thanks, which is really a nice thing and a good thing to do. Just because I know I have a couple people on phone audio, and that yeah, Anna Hancock and Anna, I'm glad you made it. I know that
Okay, Anna.
you were
Anna did
having.
a Facebook Live on Monday night, and it was super good.
Yay! Yeah, I know you were having a little trouble getting in here, so I was about to try to message you back when I saw you were here, so that was good. She says my suggestion is to practice with a small audience, because when I did my test run, my screen was flickering, but it wasn't on my phone, and people
Mhm.
told me so I could try and figure it out. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And then just a thank you from Mariah, who says it was very helpful and super excited that you learned you can practice live on your own account. See, I told you. I feel
Yeah,
like that was the
it is.
single
It was
best
a
advice you
game
came up with.
changer finding that out for me because I've been like, sure, I am a tend to be like, yeah, like I love to try new things and it'll be great. I'll do this. It'll be no problem. And then, as so many times, I'm like, ooh, maybe that was an early commit. Oh, and then I have a small freak out and then I figure it out. So it was definitely me having a small freak out in my living room. But eventually, I got there, figured it out.
All right. And then Robin was wanting to know how you recommend keeping track of which posts include which publishers.
Oh, so it's in the description of each post, but I actually just have I'm managing it in Google Docs because I find it's easier to get to. In my outline for that story time, I include what publishers I used. So
Okay.
that's actually the first place that I type up the sort of description that I'm going to put at the top.
Okay. And I mean, I'm just thinking this is just not born of practical experience, but just me thinking off the top of my head too. You may just want to make a practice of deleting everything like the next day, and then you really don't have to worry about it.
You
Um,
could, except
mhm,
that we do have patrons who can't watch it
mhm,
live, and then
mhm.
they like to watch it later. So because I'm doing
Yeah.
it a couple times a week, and we're doing it all in the morning. Although we are starting next week, I think a Spanish language story time in the evening on Wednesday. I'm very excited about that. So
That'll be
helping
fun.
a staff member get ready to do that. So I've just been keeping track, and I think I might because I wasn't sure how I sort of put that system in place in the beginning, and since it
Mhm.
looks like we're going to do this for at least 2 or 3 more weeks minimum. Who knows how long? I'm
I was
like,
gonna say, I think you're lowballing, but
I feel like I'm gonna just start an Excel sheet now and just be
mhm,
like post, date, publisher, and then like have a delete by for each publisher, and then I can know. And then on that date, I'll just go in and find all those posts and delete them, because I was considering that last night. I was like,
mhm.
like I'm gonna have to go into my library to get materials. I was talking to my supervisor about I need to go get more books. I have like
You're running out of books.
scoured my house within an inch of its life. I did find I remembered I had my secret shelf of like signed books that no one's allowed to touch. And
I have those too.
right, like
My
reference.
4-year-old hates them. He's
I,
4. He's like, "Why do you have picture books that you keep going, don't
I
touch?"
know, right? I'm like, "Yeah, Kevin Hank, the real Kevin Hank is signed that on Saturday. I'm gonna read my signed Ashley Bryan book." And I'm like, oh
Ooh.
my gosh, it is so kind of my precious books. So I love my signed books. So those, but yeah, I was like broke into that shelf this week, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm gonna have to get into that library for a short amount of time and get a few books. But so I've been given a clear. I just have to figure out exactly what the date, because I don't want a bunch of people in there so we don't get each other sick, which makes
Mhm,
perfect sense. So, and also, be careful what I touch. So again,
mhm.
don't want to make my coworkers sick, nor
Well,
do I
that's
want
very nice.
them to make me sick. So
Excellent. So good question, Robin, and good thing to think about. Again, if any of you have any other questions, feel free to type it in or unmute yourself and bust in. As I say that, I'm going to pop in some URLs in the chat. Next week, I am going to, probably me actually, I hedged my bet and said SWON staff, but it'll probably be me, talk about using YouTube Live, particularly a program called StreamYard that you can use for free to make that even easier. I'm I may talk about YouTube Live on its own there as well. I may do that in a separate thing. Where, as with many people, we're figuring some things out as we go. But that is a really interesting and useful platform. And then I'm going to also post too, if you guys were not in on it, we are having a weekly conference call for programmers. This one is probably going to end up being mostly children's folks. I think we're going to work on getting together specifically an adult programmer call. Because there's some specific needs there. That said, everyone is absolutely welcome to join in on this one, because no matter who you do programming for, we all have stuff in common. Another big one is tomorrow we have a magician who's going to teach you all how to do a magic show. So again, that's free for all the SWAN members and all the folks in Ohio, so probably most of you here. So go ahead and register for that. And that's going to be an event where we'll have the ability to be on camera and work with the magician to learn tricks. So the other cool thing about Cody Clark, the magician, is that he identifies as autistic. He works that into his magic. And he also is going to talk to us a little bit about making your library a sensory friendly environment. So that's
there was
going to be really nice, and we're excited about that.
That's good. So someone asked me a question about music, and I
Yes.
don't usually use CD music on in most of my story times. I used to, and then I learned to play the ukulele, which is so nice. Which, if you can get a hold of a ukulele, and there are plenty on Amazon, just make sure it has geared tuners on the back before you buy it. Usually around $70 to get a decent one. I just learned completely almost from YouTube. Like that was pretty much how I've learned to play the ukulele. So it might be a good thing to learn during a pandemic.
Hey, you
But
if you've had some time.
get some time,
Ooh.
Anyway, it's kind of relaxing. So, and I also, so there's 3 sizes: a soprano, a concert, and a tenor, and then bass ukulele, but that has different fingering. I have a concert, which is slightly larger, which is nice because I have long fingers. So that little tiny fretboard on the soprano is very hard for me. But I have been checking copyright for music. So I know that most of them have been pretty, if it's like a like Raffi or Casper Baby Pants, they've been very generous about saying, "Oh, sure." Like I've just been messaging people or emailing their reps, and people been like, "Oh, okay." Locally, Learning Grove was super pumped about the idea of me doing some of their songs. They do Growing Sound has really sweet little songs that are just love, like this "I Can Count on You" song, and I've got two, and then a lot of them are sort of in the common, like Old MacDonald and Wheels on the Bus. So if you're not sure about copyright for songs, I would just go with classics and then just sing them. And uh, singing, I think, is really important if you aren't singing yourself, because you kind of, even when you're not a good singer, you give parents the permission to not be a good singer, because singing is valuable for children no matter the quality of the singing. They don't care. Your children don't judge. They just belt it out and go.
So true. Um, no, yeah, and actually, just throw that out there too. Is ukuleles. We've done a few things a couple times with Swan. The ukulele playing in there. The baritone ukulele, which is what Alice. Why am I forgetting her last name? Resford? Yes, I think that's right. Um, has worked with, is tuned the same way as a guitar, only I think with one fewer string.
Yeah,
Am I
ukuleles only
remembering that
have
way?
4 strings.
Yeah, so which is kind of nice to know, because so that way if you know a little bit about guitar, then you know a little bit about the baritone ukulele and you didn't even know it. And she also advocates just kind of learning chords and just kind of strumming. She's and so I've actually just nodded down Alice ukulele. I'm like, I wonder if we could do something a little demo online. So
Yeah,
and then I know, just two off the top of my head, I know Jim Gill is another one that has yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, we're talking about doing a Swan
an
ukulele
online
class.
one.
I will
Yeah.
I will reach out. We'll see. Why not?
Well, I mean,
And
yeah,
then
if you learn
yeah,
3
Jim Gill.
chords, you can play. Yeah, Jim Gill said you can use whatever you want of his, which was very
Yeah.
nice. And then,
I think
yeah,
Zach Morgan. Am I making that up?
I don't know, I'll have to double check
Okay.
on Zach's stuff.
Not sure about Zach. I am definitely sure about Jim
Super nice, but also his songs are pretty complicated and in weird keys. So any of the ones that I've tried, I've been like, "Oh, Zach, too tricky." Man, I need basics. I mostly play the magic 3 chords, C, G, and
Gill.
F, and then
Hmm.
occasionally A minor and C7 and D if I'm pressed, but oof, it's barring. I don't like it. So, but yeah, I just mostly look for songs that only use those 3 chords, and there's a
My
shocking number of them.
Exactly. And you know, and my favorite Alice trick too is if there's, just one weird chord in a song, just don't strum on that one.
Yeah, just sing it. I
Yeah.
do that all the
You could
time.
just be like strum, 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 skip,
Nope,
strum,
sing
strum.
no problem. It sounds fine. And
It was
again, parents are and their children are very, very forgiving. Like I find on like when my cat walks into the screen, that's like an event on YouTube Live. They are not YouTube, Facebook Live. They are like, "Oh yes, Mr. Carson." They love that. And then or parents who know me well, I always see them hit that laugh emoji if I make a mistake. I'm like, "Thanks. Thanks, Shay." Or whatever it is. Like,
that
"Oh,
is the
that's
exciting
great."
thing about Facebook too. I think they do have that good feedback.
You do. You get a lot of feedback. I've watched a lot of sort of recorded story times too,
Mhm.
and I tried just recording one. Like maybe this would be a better option when we were talking about what did we do. Oh, I got my lighting from Amazon. That's where I got it. If you do like ring light tripod, they'll come right up. So, and there's lots of price ranges. I think the one I got was like $32, and it was just fine. Uh, but when I recorded it, it just felt a lot more stilted because I would sort of leave the prompts for responding, but it's hard to feel like someone's watching when no one's watching. And I just have a lot more energy when I do it
Mhm.
on Facebook Live. So even when people are watching it later, there's a lot more energy in there.
And I just threw a couple of examples
Yeah,
of
I think
the
that
ring
UB
lights.
size, that's the one I
Mhm.
have. So there you
Yeah,
go.
like the 8 does a phone, the 10 does an iPad, I think, is, if I'm
Mhm.
remembering right. And then, but yeah, I mean, I did not remotely research to see if those were like, the
That
best
was the
ones
brand
or
I got was that UB size because
yeah.
it was
So
in stock and it could ship fast,
yeah,
and,
and that's yep,
it
yep.
just like, it was a fast turnaround, like,
Mhm.
they said to me on the Wednesday, "Hey, can you do this and start on Tuesday?" And I was like, yes." this? And then I just immediately got to work. And then within an hour, had ordered one of those lights, which then the library did offer to pay for. So that was nice as a programming material. But
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they should. Tell them that Cassandra at Swan said they should pay for it. But yeah, and I think I mentioned to you yesterday, I have a spot with some pretty good natural lighting, which makes me very happy. But yeah, it makes a big difference having good lighting more than you might think. So, yeah. So looks like, just gonna make sure again, and I want to throw out one last link for you guys again. Please register for the Magician event and Programmers Conference call. We'd love to have you. We're also just PCI webinars. If you guys, I know Amy's familiar with them because she has done them, and but they're doing one on podcasting later in the month, and that actually was just scheduled anyway. And but I feel like it happens to be particularly relevant.
I
So,
will probably go to that. So.
Yeah. It's funny because that was definitely a topic that was on our radar. And again, I feel like there's a lot of things that we've been talking about doing as libraries for a while, that this is all just kind of pressing us into learning maybe faster than we intended to, but
learning new things.
So again, that was great, super informative. Hope you guys can join us to talk about the YouTube Live and StreamYard platforms as well. If anybody has any good experience on Zoom, we're still looking for somebody to present on that. And with that, if I don't see any more questions within the next little bit here, we can call it a day, and I will stop the recording. And I suspect we've given people a good amount of time, so we should be good.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. And you
Thank
guys are all welcome to contact me. I don't know, I put it up there at some point on the slides, but it's amy.chardine@kentonlibrary.org. Or if you contact Kenton Library through Facebook and ask for me, I will see that eventually, or someone will tell me to see it. We're getting a lot of messages right now. All the admins
and
are
of course,
super
if you forget that, and you can always contact us at SWON, and we will be glad to get you.
You can connect me, yes.
Yeah, we'll do it. All right. Thank you again, and have a great afternoon. Stay safe, stay healthy, everybody.
All right. Bye, everyone.